Hi, welcome to the quiz. You will be presented with multiple choice questions, each displayed on screen for a short time. Please make sure to attempt answering all the questions. Quizzes help us to reinforce our knowledge, identify areas where we need to focus more, and improve our overall performance. Taking quizzes can also help to increase retention and make the learning process more engaging and enjoyable. With that out of the way, you can answer along on quizalto.com. The exact URL of this quiz will be in the notes down below. Let's get started. Good luck. What is a use case for sharing Amazon S3 buckets using AWS Resource Access Manager? Deploying custom SSL certificates on ELB instances. Scaling RAID capacity for Amazon DynamoDB tables. Collaborative data sharing between multiple accounts. Creating custom Lambda configurations. What is the advantage of using AWS Resource Access Manager to share Amazon RDS database snapshots across accounts? Improving data compression techniques for shared snapshot backups. Enabling data recovery and backup collaboration on shared database instances. Automating scheduled snapshot creation for RDS databases. Accelerating database query speeds for RDS snapshots. What is a limitation of sharing AWS storage gateway volumes using AWS RAM? Limits on the number of volumes that can be shared. Recipient accounts cannot access data on the shared volumes. Shared volumes do not support encryption at rest. Shared volumes cannot exceed 1 terabyte in size. How does AWS Resource Access Manager help in managing resource sprawl within an organization? By enforcing strict resource naming conventions across all accounts. By centralizing resource sharing and access control policies. By limiting the number of resources that can be shared across accounts. By automatically deleting unused resources after a certain period. What is the significance of restricting resource access based on AWS RAM resource shares? Limiting the number of resources that can be shared across accounts. Automatically terminating unused resources to prevent resource sprawl. Encrypting data in transit between shared resources for increased security. Ensuring that only specified accounts have permission to access shared resources. What is a limitation of sharing AWS Secrets Manager secrets using AWS RAM? Shared secrets cannot be accessed programmatically. Shared secrets are not encrypted in transit. Recipient accounts cannot rotate the shared secrets. Limits on the number of secrets that can be shared. What is the benefit of using AWS Resource Access Manager for sharing encrypted Amazon EBS snapshots across accounts? Improving data compression techniques for encrypted snapshot backups. Enabling secure collaboration on shared encrypted data volumes. Automating encryption key rotation for shared EBS volumes. Accelerating data recovery speeds for encrypted EBS snapshots. What is a consideration to keep in mind when sharing AWS CloudWatch alarms using AWS Resource Access Manager? Ensuring that shared alarms do not overwhelm account monitoring processes. Automatically disabling alarms after a specified period of inactivity. Limiting the number of alarms that can be shared across accounts. Encrypting alarm notifications for secure communication between accounts. What is the key benefit of using AWS Resource Access Manager when collaborating with external partners or vendors? Minimize network traffic overhead and reduce data transfer costs. Securely share AWS resources without the need for cross-account IAM roles. Automatically grant full administrative access to partners for resource management. Maintain a separate billing account for shared resources and usage. Why is it important to regularly review and manage resource shares created via AWS Resource Access Manager? To automatically provision additional resources based on usage patterns. To centralize all shared resources for improved visibility. To increase resource access speeds for all shared resources. To maintain compliance with changing access policies and requirements. What role does AWS Identity and Access Management play in resource sharing via AWS Resource Access Manager? Automating data encryption protocols for shared resource traffic. Enforcing access control policies for shared resources. Optimizing network routing algorithms for low-latency communication. Monitoring resource usage metrics for cross-account sharing activities. Why would an organization choose to share AWS security groups through AWS Resource Access Manager? To optimize resource costs associated with security group usage. To increase network latency for improved performance in distributed environments. To enforce consistent network access controls across multiple accounts. To automate resource tagging for all shared security groups. What is a limitation of sharing AWS License Manager managed resources using AWS RAM? Limits on the number of managed resources that can be shared. Shared resources cannot be accessed outside the AWS network. Shared resources inherit restrictions from the recipient account. Recipient accounts must pay for the shared resources. When sharing resources using AWS Resource Access Manager, how are resource permissions enforced? Through AWS Identity and Access Management policies. Through network firewalls and encryption protocols. Through custom resource sharing scripts. Through Amazon CloudWatch alarms and monitoring. What is a use case for sharing AWS Key Management Service keys using AWS RAM? Scaling RAID capacity for Amazon DynamoDB tables. Encrypting EBS volumes across multiple accounts. Deploying apps on Elastic Container Service. Configuring IAM policies for S3 bucket access. What is the benefit of using AWS Resource Access Manager for sharing advanced networking resources like AWS Transit Gateway? Automated resource scaling and load balancing for network traffic. Increased data transfer speeds and reduced latency during network communication. Simplified administrative overhead and reduced operational complexity. Enhanced data encryption and security measures for network traffic. What is a benefit of using AWS RAM over manual resource sharing methods? Centralized resource management. Automated resource provisioning. Increased network throughput. Enhanced data encryption. What type of resources can be shared using AWS Resource Access Manager? RDS instances, EBS volumes, and VPC peering connections. IAM roles, policies, and users. Lambda functions, API gateway endpoints, and S3 buckets. Subnets, security groups, and route tables. What is a benefit of sharing AWS Key Management Service keys using AWS Resource Access Manager? Reducing CPU overhead for EC2 instances. Ensuring consistent encryption across accounts. Optimizing memory usage for Lambda functions. Automating RDS database backups. Why would an organization choose to use AWS Resource Access Manager for sharing Amazon RDS database instances? To enable developers from different teams to collaborate on shared database resources. To reduce database instance costs by sharing resources only when needed. To activate disaster recovery mechanisms for database instances across multiple accounts. To enforce strict data access policies and prevent unauthorized database queries. What is a possible use case for sharing AWS Key Management Service keys using AWS Resource Access Manager? Creating EC2 instances in a VPC. Configuring Amazon S3 bucket policies. Encrypting EBS volumes across multiple accounts. Deploying Lambda functions in different regions. What is a key benefit of using AWS RAM to share AWS Lambda functions across multiple accounts? Improving performance monitoring for critical Lambda functions. Facilitating cross-account collaboration on serverless applications. Automating resource scaling for Lambda functions based on usage patterns. Accelerating data processing speeds for Lambda function invocations. What is the benefit of using AWS Resource Access Manager for sharing AWS private link endpoints across accounts? Enabling simplified monitoring and logging for VPC traffic. Avoiding data exposure by securely accessing services within a VPC. Automatically executing intrusion detection systems for VPC endpoints. Accelerating network traffic between VPCs in different regions. In what scenario would sharing AWS CloudFormation stacks using AWS Resource Access Manager be beneficial? When configuration changes are required for existing resources within one account. When integrating third-party services that require access to the CloudFormation templates. When provisioning resources that only require temporary access permissions. When multiple accounts need to deploy the same infrastructure templates. What is a limitation of sharing AWS Direct Connect connections using AWS RAM? AWS RAM does not support sharing Direct Connect connections. Recipient accounts need to purchase separate Direct Connect connections. Data transfer costs for shared connections are higher. Shared connections do not support private VIFs. And that's a wrap. Thanks to everyone who participated. Remember, you can answer along on quizalto.com, where you can keep track of your progress and find much more quizzes. We hope you had a fun and challenging time. Until next time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more. Hit the bell icon to be notified as soon as we upload. Please leave a comment if you have any thoughts or suggestions, and if you think this video is worth sharing with someone who could benefit from it, please forward a link to them. See you next time. Thanks for watching.